Welcome to this intro on Studio Flash. The learning objectives here today are health and safety with regards to Studio Flash, learn how to use basic studio equipment, and learn some basic lighting setups. Our considerations for this session are the equipment that will be used, the settings that will be used on the equipment, and the subject, i.e. the person sitting as portrait. Health and safety. When in the studio, treat it like any other business. Health and safety should be common sense. For instance, you don't leave leads just trailing across the floor as a hazard for somebody to potentially trip and fall over. Along with trip hazards, there is a lot of equipment and your space may be small. When you bring a client into your studio, you do not want them leaving covered in bruises. Trailing leads should be tipped down with gaffer tape, ideally. This is not always possible. Lights should be on light holders, and lights can become incredibly hot, so please ensure that you do not touch them whilst they are hot. Backdrops can be very heavy. Having a helper on site is always good. It's just good to have somebody on site should you require their help. When using studio equipment, you can reduce the amount of wires in the studio by using wireless triggers. This also allows you as the photographer to move around the studio a little bit more freely without worrying about pulling lights over. Lastly, if you're doing this as a full-time job, don't forget about your insurances. The basic studio equipment that we are using for this session includes a Portaflash flash unit, several stands, a backdrop which is white, a flash sync lead, and a Canon 7D. The basic lighting setups that we will look at will be one light setups. The first basic light setup that we will look at will be split lighting. This is where the flash unit will be at 90 degrees to the subject, and whenever the flash fires, one side of the subject will be illuminated and the other half will be dark. This is known as split lighting, as the light and the shadows are split across the person's face, as you can see here on screen. The second lighting setup that we will look at is Rembrandt lighting. Rembrandt lighting is 45-degree angular lighting. This means that the light is 45 degrees to one side or the other of the subject as they face the camera. This 45-degree lighting allows for most of the face to be illuminated. However, harsh lighting will produce harsh shadows, and if you look at the nose area, you will see that a dark shadow has developed. This is with a single flash unit with no diffuser, therefore the shadows are harsh. The final basic one light setup that we will look at is butterfly lighting. We're going to move the light behind the photographer and we're going to raise it above the photographer's head. This means that whenever the subject is looking directly at the photographer, the light is fully frontal to them, but as the light is higher than the subject, the shadows should be cast downwards. So there should be a shadow just underneath the nose and underneath the chin. When the photographer captures an image of the subject with this particular lighting style, the butterfly lighting gets its name due to the little butterfly-shaped shadow cast underneath the nose. You can see an example of this here on screen. So to conclude this tutorial, we have looked at some basic lighting setups that included split lighting, Rembrandt lighting, and butterfly lighting. I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial, and many thanks for listening.